I can pay my bills off trading crypto if I wanted to. 90% of the people who try to do it fail. To be honest with you, I am good at it, but it's come at a great risk to my personal life, my mental health. You're definitely better off, for the long term, just stacking stats. But at the end of the day, I'm a Bitcoin maxi. And the number one thing you'll hear from people that have been doing altcoins for years is they'll say, I wish I would have just bought Bitcoin. Because of the way it's went up, sustained a range for a very long time, I think it's going to be hard pressed for Bitcoin to go back below $75,000. The very max I think it could go is 230. And for that, it would need to extend out into 2026. Bitcoin is the most significant invention in hundreds and hundreds or thousands of years. Every single fiat money ever has went to zero, and it's inevitable that they all will go to zero, including the US dollar. Bitcoin can replace what gold has done for thousands of years so much better than what gold's purpose has been. I don't think people understand how big of a deal this is.
Welcome to Sat Chats, the Bitcoin podcast where we chat about sats. Sats are the smallest part of a Bitcoin, the same way pennies are the smallest part of a dollar. With Sat Chats, we are building the world's biggest Bitcoin welcome center to serve as your gateway to generational wealth. So if you're brand new to Bitcoin, we want to chat about sats with you. Head to satchats.com to grab your slot in the studio today. I'm your host, Stuart, Bitcoin Dad.
And I'm your co-host, Chris, founder and CEO of Ithaca Hummus.
Shout out, Michelle. Where you at? So we've got number 106, Ron, in the studio here today. All right, so let's hit you with some rapid fire real quick, Ron. Ron, how old are you?
42.
And you live here in Raleigh with us.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do to mine fiat?
Yeah, I do a few different things. But yeah, I mean, I can pay my bills off trading crypto if I wanted to.
So you could pay your bills just off of you trading crypto on your own, not any revenue that you might get from streaming or creating content or helping others in your Telegram channel. Just you fully trading the market. You can do it.
I don't make hardly anything off that other stuff. Just trading off really just one asset. Even the last few months, I can easily pay for my bills and such.
Wow. What's that one asset?
A gaming project called Medicaid. I'm an ambassador for it. Now, I don't have any inside knowledge. I'm not manipulating the price or anything like that, but because I watch it a lot, I do trade it as well. So just from that, I do pretty well trading Medicaid.
Like, do you have to be a certain type of person to want to trade? Because like we've had some traders on the show, like number 9 Paul, and like he was all about like 12 screens, just like, you know what I mean? He was like scrying into the matrix, and like I feel like there's a certain type of person who really enjoys the daily feedback loop of stuff going up and down, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, if you want to be an actual trader, and I do both, I do trading and I'm holding things for long term. I wear a lot of different hats in this space. I try to take whatever it's going to give me. And that can be different on different times of year, different parts of the market cycle. But I'm trying to give what it's willing to give, take what it's willing to give me. As far as if you want to be a trader, I would think long and hard about that. Different statistics tell you different things, but generally speaking, 90% of the people who try to do it fail. Mm-hmm. I have read countless books, countless courses, had some good people I knew personally. And to be honest with you, I am good at it. And I'm somebody you could probably say is in the 10% of the people who are successful, but it's come at a great risk to my personal life, my mental health. It's not for everybody. I handle a lot better now. And then especially in crypto with the volatility and when you deal with altcoins, it takes a toll. It takes a toll on anybody. You're definitely better off, for the long term, just DCAing and stacking stats.
Yeah. Okay. Just better off stacking sats. That's what I believe.
Staying humble.
One thing that you'll hear from people that get into space, I deal in altcoins a lot, but at the end of the day, I'm a Bitcoin maxi. And the number one thing you'll hear from people that have been dealing altcoins for years is they'll say, I wish I would have just bought Bitcoin.
It's so okay. So the phrase stack sats and stay humble. What do you think they mean by the stay humble part?
Well, I think it kind of goes to the Bitcoin culture. It's not like, Wall Street as much. So like when it comes to making money off Bitcoin, most people that are Bitcoin millionaires, they're not, throwing it in your face and stuff like that. And they are more humble about it. Now, some of these people that have gotten rich off meme coins, that might be a different story. But I think, kind of just stay humble. Don't get over your head and just, stack stats and believe in the future vision. And, eventually, like Michael Saylor said, it's either going to zero or it's going to a million. And that's a really good way to look at it. And, I think at this point, we see which way it's more likely to go.
Yeah.
It's going to go to a million because of, to understand Bitcoin and why it's so important, you need to understand the fiat money system to be able to know and understand what's the big deal about this asset.
I think I just made a new neural connection here.
Yeah.
Before the episode turned on, talking with Ron about what that stay humble part means. Ron explained kind of the pathway to altcoins and meme coins and non-Bitcoin crypto that he sees before we started filming for people who discover Bitcoin or they learn about Bitcoin and they're like, oh my gosh, if only I would have invested back in 2013 or, I would have millions and millions of dollars of liquidity right now. They realize that, then they believe that it's too late for them to go on that journey again because Bitcoin's already at whatever the price is. And so they get driven into this altcoin universe to try to replicate those gains.
Definitely.
But no, I mean, I think it's inevitable. If you buy Bitcoin, you are going to outcompete. Your portfolio is going to outcompete the portfolios of anyone who doesn't have Bitcoin. And that can be a very like self-driving experience. That can fuel your ego. And so I think it's important to actively fight against that.
Well, it's no secret that Bitcoin's kind of moved in a 4-year cycle. And, there's no direct answer if that's driven by the halving or global liquidity, or there's a lot of different things that and theories to look at. Most people say it's because of the halving or whatever, but it's just a theory. No one really knows why it's moved in these 4-year cycles. But generally speaking, people get in when it's at its highs. That's what brings the people to the market. So that's generally when people get in, and that's when. Okay, they're interested in Bitcoin and crypto. They don't really understand it. They're starting to watch some YouTube videos and stuff like that. And then they start to kind of understand, the market cap, what that is. And okay, well, gosh, I'm not going to, like you just alluded to, I'm not going to be a millionaire anytime soon off buying Bitcoin, but some of these other things that I see, I see these people, I hear about these people making millions, and also to that, for every meme coin project that comes out and somebody might make $1 million, there is, 95+% of the people lost everything.
Yeah.
In that. And there's a lot of things that go into that. When it comes to altcoins, the way I explain it to people is in the total cryptocurrency market cap space, there's Bitcoin, which is its own, look at Bitcoin as its own thing. And then look at the rest of the altcoins as, products or whatever that are based off the technology of Bitcoin. Consider that the blockchain development space. And they're trying to integrate certain technologies into our daily lives for whatever. 99% of it will go to zero. And some of it, I think, will come out the other side. There is some things that will come out the other side and will be integrated into our daily lives. But generally speaking, the altcoin, they call it alt season. There's only a finite window of about 2 to 3 months. If history repeats itself, like I said, it goes in these 4-year cycles, 2 to 3 months where the altcoins are going to outperform Bitcoin. And there's charts you can look at this. Bitcoin dominance is a popular one. And you can see, Bitcoin will outperform the rest of the altcoins for 3 years. And then the dominance will start to fall. And then there will be a window. And that's when the most parabolic gains are happening. And that's when, it's going to be on the news, and that's what gets people in. And, I don't want to call it fool's gold necessarily, because you can make a lot of money at it. But most people that come in they have more of a traditional, maybe like a stock mentality, where I buy a stock and I hold it for a long time, and then they're learning about the technology and it sounds cool and promising and stuff like that. So they get in these projects and their unrealized balances are actually going up, and they think they made a good decision. And gosh, in 5 years or 10 years, who knows what this stuff's going to be. But they don't understand this is only going to be for a short time. That's why it's called alt season. It should even be called alt eclipse, because that's how rare it is. Once every 4 years is where it really happens. Now, alt gains, projects come out, they have big gains, but there's also, and we can get into this a little later, there's a misunderstanding between market cap and liquidity in crypto, and how much the market cap might say one thing, but the actual liquidity that is there to be able to be taken out to even take those kinds of profits, it may on math or paper have been like 100x gain, but that money isn't even there to take out. So a lot of people, these posts and say, oh, in 100x, 1,000, yeah, technically it did, but it's not like anybody who invested made 100. Like nobody made that, because the money wasn't even there to be taken out. And that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of factors in this. And if you're not really well schooled in this, your best bet is just to do what you said, buy Bitcoin, what you can afford every Monday, once a month, twice a month, every week, whatever you can do, and just sack stats and just do that.
Just to kind of put this in my own words, you're telling our satillionaires that once every 4 years, there is this crypto eclipse where all of these other coins outperform Bitcoin for the briefest moment. It pulls in all these hopefuls who then get wrecked.
Yep. And you're going to look at your phone or exchange account or whatever, these altcoins, and just talking about the general person or whatever, and you're going to be up on your unrealized balance, and you're going to be impressed with yourself. And then when the dumps start coming, you're going to have that number in your head, whether it was 80,000 or 100,000 or who knows, depending on what kind of money you're playing with. And it makes it very hard for you to sell, even when you're up at that point, because no, I want that. I want it to go back up to that. And then it just keeps going down and keeps bleeding. And then these people make it right with themselves. Well, then they kind of know about the 4-year thing. Like, well, I'll just hold it until next market cycle and then I'll be better. And then just because you hold the next market cycle doesn't mean it's going to come back.
Why? So why? So first of all, I hope our satillionaires are like, no, thanks. I'll just stay humble and stack sats because that's all I have time for. Why does this eclipse occur once every 4 years? Like, what's happening? What powers that?
Well, some people think it's driven by the halving, and I'm not saying they're wrong, but every 4 years the Bitcoin program halves itself, where only half the amount being produced is being produced going forward. So theoretically, if the demand stayed the same, only half is being produced, and price will inherently go up, and it causes some kind of supply shock. There's other things to look at though, and there's people like big financial analysts in the bear market that said that they didn't know it was because of the halving or just because of the global liquidity cycles. Lynn Alden and Raoul Powell are two of those people who had talked about that. There's something really popular now called M2 money supply. And if you offset that with the price of Bitcoin by about 3 months, it matches up about 80%. So that suggests that Bitcoin is just kind of following the global liquidity. And, that makes sense because that's what makes Bitcoin. That's why Bitcoin is going to go to 1 million if it doesn't go to 0, because the more fiat is printed and dilutes the money system. That's the thing about Bitcoin. You can only make 21 million, and there's only a small amount coming out now. So as you print more fiat, it has no choice but to go up against fiat.
So it seems like there's like this search for the silver metric that will allow you to predict what Bitcoin is going to do next. And like, how likely do you think any of us regular guys are going to be able to find that?
As a regular person, it's hard.
To me, it seems like if you put in this amount of work, you have a chance to get rich quickly. If you put in this amount of work, you're guaranteed to get rich slowly. And then I can take the rest of that time and do something else with it. Yeah. But that's just my personality type. You know, like I don't want that swirling matrix of constantly updating information. I just want to know what's guaranteed to work, and I want to, you know,
you're
crush
much better off doing that and just living your life and just buying some Bitcoin and doing your hobbies and normal things you want. You know, when you're like me, like, I mean, I eat, sleep, and breathe this from the time I wake up to the time I go to bed, you know, and it's,
it sparks joy for you.
Yeah, it kind of, you know, it's an addiction too. I can't stop if I want to, you know, well, I'll say that once the market cycle, once I feel it's exhausted itself, it tends to take a little bit of a break or whatever. But, yeah, I would recommend somebody to operate like you, not like me.
Yeah. Okay. So, and I want to unpack your story here in a moment, but I also cannot resist. You know, this show is focused on evergreen content. You know, we've got great stories from Bitcoiners, great chats with pre-coiners. You know, it's supposed to work today, next year, 10 years from now. We don't do the news. We don't do headlines. We don't do predictions. We don't do financial learning curves. However, I cannot resist. You know, you were shaking your head no at my cousin Winchester's, you know, predictions here. And you told me that you correctly predicted the top of the last cycle and the bottom of the last cycle, potentially by, you know, determining that Virgo was in fact retrograding through the orbit of Mars while the price of noodles in India was going up. What do you think? We're at 120 on the dial over here, right? We popped up into like, you know, 123K, you know, we dipped down to 80 earlier this year. Where are we in the cycle? Where is the top going to be? Where is the bottom going to be?
Well, you know, I'm gonna have to check the Indian noodle price and see. See about that, right? Well, you know, I'm not the biggest at making future predictions, but the very max I think it could go is 230.
230.
That's the max I think it can go. And for that, it would need to extend out into 2026, which as of right now, I think that it's more likely than not, that it will extend out into 2026 some. And one reason I bring up the number 230, I think it's going to be hard pressed for Bitcoin to go back below $75,000.
Ever.
Yeah, unless there's some kind of macro black swanish type stuff that happens, I think it's going to be very hard pressed to go past 75,000 again. And now anything's possible. That's not a guarantee to take to the bank. But if Bitcoin's had 80% drops in its bear markets in the past, so if it hits 230, just a 70% drop, which is still less than 80, less you got in the past, that would bring you back to 75K. So that's one reason, trying to anticipate the potential drops is one way to look at that, because things are about to start changing a lot as the numbers get bigger. So in Bitcoin bull markets, 30% pullbacks on the way up have been pretty standard. All right, so pretty soon, a 30% pullback, that's going to be 150 all the way back to 100. Mm-hmm. That's going to be that doesn't register. It's a 30% pullback, but it doesn't register to people as a 30% pullback. So theoretically, we can go to 150, pull back to 100, and the bull market still be on.
Wow.
Now, if it goes to 150, comes back to 75 ish, maybe even, you know, a little lower than that, into like 70 or so, you know, then you're talking about a little 50% or more cut. And I think as the asset matures, that is more likely. Price levels are very important. Where Bitcoin stayed at and has a price history at. So this past market cycle was the first time it went below the previous all-time high. But the all-time high from 2017, it was just it was like a blow-off top is what they call it. It didn't establish any price history there. So it doesn't surprise me that it went below it a little bit. Now, the previous all-time, now looking out for this cycle, if we're looking at the pullback, we go to 2021 all-time high, which was around 70,000. But because the ETFs and such, we got to the all-time high a lot sooner than we did last time. And it was a lot harder to break through it. I mean, we made a new all-time high, but until price is accepted there and continues to go up in what's called price discovery, you're not really making, I mean, on paper, you're making new all-time highs, but it's not.
It's like artificial.
Yeah, it's not the same.
Yeah.
So the fact that we got there when we did and price stayed there so long, along with it being a previous all-time high, and if you go back to the 2021 all-time highs, it went up there twice. It double topped around there, and it was not like 2017 where it went up there, it was a blow off top. A bunch of people got rich, a bunch of people got wrecked. In 2021, it was much more methodical where it went up there and stayed up there for over a month both times, while what's happening was called distribution. So a lot of these big entities and stuff like that, they're distributing it, they're getting retail in to buy it, being exit liquidity. And that developed a big price history there already. And then we ranged there for 7-8 months or something like that, developing even more price history. Because what's happening during this time is it's changing hands. And the more it changes hands, the better. For people that bought at 15, 20,000, if you get it out of their hands at 70K, it's going to have much less of a price impact where they start selling at 120, 150 or whatever. So getting it out of their hands into new buyers, that's why the longer it ranges, the better, really. And I think, it's hard to say at the moment if we're approaching the final maybe leg up in Bitcoin, where maybe it only goes to 110 or something like that, or excuse me, 130. But because of the way it's went up, sustained a range for a very long time. And all these times it came back and just did touch the previous high in all these times. Even recently it did that. So these are some of the reasons why I think that 75K is not that it's impossible to break through. It's going to take a lot. It's going to take a lot of bearish sentiment, maybe, black swan type stuff, because the price action there is so thick. You had so many people buying and selling there over the years, changing hands. So there's something called the anchoring effect, and people, when they get in, you guys might be familiar with that. Like it's a psychological concept that you buy an asset that registers in your head as like the price of the asset.
Right.
So as it goes down, you may think I'm getting a deal because I bought Bitcoin at, I'm just use random number, at 100,000 and now it's at 90,000. So I'm getting a deal. If something's 10% off or 20% off at the grocery store, yeah, you probably are getting a deal because those prices are more or less set, for the most part. But when it comes to an asset, it's all relative. So it depends on how it goes down. And the anchoring effect is something that plays with a lot of people's head. And it's why they buy a downtrend of an asset, because they think they're getting a deal and it continues to go down. But anyway, so a lot of people that get into Bitcoin at that price of 75K, because we know that happened. It changed a lot of hands during that time. People are getting in. There's a lot of people getting in there. So they have 75K in their head as like a great price. Oh my gosh, if it comes down here, I'm backing the truck up. And that's some of the psychology that's going on behind it, on why I think that 75K would be hard to break, as well as some of the price targets and what we've seen in pullbacks in the past, factor in the asset maturing and all those kinds of things. I think that 75K is going to be tough to go below.
That's incredible, man. That is a whole lot of thoughts.
Yeah, they're all great too. I mean, and it makes sense. Like the more people transact at today's price point, each one of those transactions, it's two parties coming together and say, yep, I think it's worth that. Yep, I think it's worth that. The more that happens, the closer you get to the price discovery that you were.
Yeah, you get, and that's why when you reach an area, so like you guys pay attention to Ethereum at all?
No.
Well, it recently broke 4,000, which has been a level that it has been extremely hard for it to break. And that was around the previous high of the all-time cycle. So when it gets up there, people that bought the top, they're in so much pain for all this time. When it gets back there, they're like, finally, I'm got back to break even or whatever. And so when something's developed an all-time high or some kind of area of interest around the price, the first time that it goes up there, the chances of it just going up there and breaking through is very unlikely. It's a small probability.
Right. And there was kind of that phenomenon with Bitcoin at 100,000 too, where it was like getting into the 99s and it just like was not going over. Because I think a lot of people were like, okay, sell.
Yeah, round numbers are a thing in markets for sure. So a lot of people target round numbers. People have been talking about Bitcoin to 100,000 for a long time. So no surprise that ended up being a level. When you look at, getting a little more technical, when you really look in the charts, 106K, that was the real level for Bitcoin.
What? How? How? Why?
when you look at like time frames, it could, even when it made all-time highs, even up to like 110 or whatever, you could never get a close on any kind of high time frame above 106. It was all on small time frames, like day traders doing that and then just taking profits, and it couldn't close even on the daily above 106 during that whole time.
That's crazy.
Do you trade Bitcoin?
Yeah, I don't trade it as much, but I'm definitely known for Bitcoin. It was a time during the bear market time frame, I had 21 straight Bitcoin trades in a row.
Like successful trades, or
21 straight in a row.
Yeah. And it's like, do you like, so I do want to imagine that guy out there in the audience who is like somebody who wants to explore the trading space, but maybe in a way that isn't going to wreck him and his wife and kids if he messes up. Like, do you have like a percentage of your Bitcoin is like long-term cold storage, not messing with it, no funny business, and then a percentage of it is like, okay, let's try to get in and out and make trades to increase the amount of Bitcoin I have over time? Same with, is crypto, like, what does that percentage look like? Are you like 1/3 cold storage Bitcoin, 1/3 trading Bitcoin, 1/3 trading all kinds of crypto? How do you manage all that?
So most people do what you said, and they have like some Bitcoin and cold storage or something like that they're not going to touch or something like that. I don't do that as much, to be honest with you. Now, when it, like we said earlier in the stream, there's this window where altcoins outperform Bitcoin. And, I feel, and a lot of other people feel, we're about to approach that. So I'm not scared to diversify out of my Bitcoin, but like, I wouldn't recommend people to do that. But I have enough confidence in myself. I've been doing this a while and stuff like that. And at the end of the day, I'm only dealing with these alts to bring it back and get more Bitcoin.
Yeah. I mean, I think the major, the big story for you is that you're doing something that you would not recommend other people do.
Yeah.
Like the average person will get shredded into infinity. And I think something you said before we started taping was that these individuals come in at just the wrong time in order to be the exit liquidity for the other people, which, to my way of thinking, that effectively means like they're bringing their money into this crypto,
while people who know that what they're doing are selling off,
are taking their money out. And we actually, one thing that we've struggled with on the show is guests who feel that way toward Bitcoin. They feel like Bitcoin is only something because new people are bringing money. And we see this in the comments too. Hey, Bitcoin is only working because you're scamming people with your show, Sat Chats. You're bringing new people into Bitcoin so that old people can exit Bitcoin with fiat. And the only thing that actually is worth anything is the US dollar. It sounds like you're saying in crypto, there are literally scenarios where the only thing that's happening is newer people are bringing in money that older people take out. How is Bitcoin not an example of that?
Great question.
Everything's an example of that. Any stock, Tesla stock's an example of that. Anything is it. There's got to be a buyer and seller. And when people ask me something about assets or Bitcoin, sometimes, especially Bitcoin, the main thing people always say is, I just don't understand it. You guys probably get the same thing.
Yeah.
And one thing I try to tell them is like, no new money Bitcoin isn't creating money out of thin air. It's only the people invest in it, just like with the stock or anything else. They're investing in it at a certain price because they think they can sell it for more. So there's got to be a buyer and a seller. So as far, on this stream, anybody's stream, there is not a single person you can point to that has enough pull to really affect the Bitcoin market in that regard. Like I'm bringing now altcoins, totally different story. That is what's happening.
Yeah.
That is what you're going to see happening.
It's a more pure example. Yes.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
That's that, and I told you guys earlier, I'm a co-founder and run a meme coin project. And, to see that side of the curtain, every tweet damn near or just about altcoins is bought and paid for. just about.
Oh, whoa.
And from people that you think are trusted and stuff like that. It's not that they aren't trusted. And a lot of them do have like morals like, okay, yes, I will, promote it or whatever. They're like, okay, look at it. It looks good. They're not just going to promote something that's junk or they think is a scam. So like there is a lot of that, like it's got to be good. But, when you give the influencer tokens or Cole is a popular term for them now.
What?
A key opinion leader,
Okay.
KOL. That's a popular term from now instead of calling them influencers. But the tokens you give them generally when they sell those, that is just diluting market shares. Like they're not backed by anything. That's just
Do you think that Elon Musk understood this when he tweeted about Dogecoin?
Well, of course he understands these sorts of things. Now, whether he did that to manipulate it for himself, I don't know. Probably.
So what makes your meme coin worth anything? The one that you've made, like you just made it, right? I mean, what makes it worth anything?
Because people think that they can buy it at a certain price and sell it for a higher one.
It's like a tradable commodity that you've created.
What makes a baseball card worth anything?
Yeah.
Same thing, right?
So what's the name of your meme coin?
Chuck. It's a dog based off of like Chuck Norris kind of. Sort of. Now we do a lot for a meme coin. We do a whole lot. Like most meme coins, they don't do anything and they just, post and try to generate hype. We actually do a lot of stuff to try. Well, we donate to charity. We burn a lot of tokens. We have what's called a burn lottery where people send in tokens. And out of the 100% of tokens that are sent in, the person who wins the lottery gets 30%. 19 other winners get a split of the 30%, and then we burn 30%. And that lowers the supply, so those tokens can never be sold or whatever. So we sell beer, energy drinks. We do a lot for a meme coin. Not saying that makes it inherently like we're the wave of the future. Buy Chuck, and we're just like any other altcoin. A lot of these altcoin founders, they'll tell you. Like Richard Hart, if he's somebody notable in the space, he was asked, well, when Bitcoin goes in a bear market, what's Hex going to do? And he's like, oh, Hex is going to be great. I'm not going to, no, when the party's over, Chuck, just like all the other altcoins, is going to go way down.
Mm-hmm. That's insane. That's wild. I mean, it seems like you have your entire view of this whole space is effectively relative, changing over time, not fixed in any way, shape, or form. Even Bitcoin is an example of people bringing in money now while others take it out. Like, my understanding of Bitcoin is that it has value separate from us believing that it has value. It's an excellent unit of money that's like an intergalactic credit. It's on the internet. It's verified by all these people. Like Bitcoin has properties that are useful beyond just serving as a place for new money to come in so that old money can go out. Do you feel that's true with Bitcoin, or is it purely a money goes in so that money can come out?
Bitcoin is not. Bitcoin is the most significant. I would say the most significant invention in hundreds and hundreds or thousands of years. If it wasn't for the internet, those two, I don't know which, I guess that remains to be seen. But Bitcoin, I don't think people understand how big of a deal this is, when it comes to Bitcoin. And I think we spoke about it before the stream a little bit, that to understand what the big deal is about Bitcoin, you need to understand the fiat money system. And just the money system in general, to understand what the big deal is of Bitcoin.
Wild. So,
well, tell us more about that.
Sure. So historically, there's been 4 types of currency: commodity, which is gold and silver coins, and that's worked well. And then something called receipt money, which is gold and silver coins stored at a bank, and then you get a receipt for that. That's actually the best, saying that, okay, I have these 10 gold coins paying you for this. You can take this receipt to the bank, and these 10 gold coins exist at the bank. Some people might be like, well, isn't that what we do now? I'll get to that in a second, but no. So those two are good. Then the other two, you have fiat money, which is just governments, they print money and implement what's called legal tender laws, which mean you have to accept this or you go to jail. Every single fiat money ever has went to zero, and it's inevitable that they all will go to zero, including the US dollar. Now, that doesn't mean it'll happen in our lifetime, but it could. So every single fiat, and that's why it's in the Constitution that the government can't issue fiat money. That's why the Federal Reserve, most people know it's a third party, it's a private bank or whatever, and that's why it's done that way. And then the fourth type of money is called fractional reserve banking, which is the same concept to commodity money to receipt money, except so you know, most people know the bank doesn't have all the money that is loaned out, you know. So if you have $100 in the bank, all of our $100, we can't all go get that at the same time. And that's what the bank knows. Everyone's not going to most likely want to get it all at the same time. So they have 1% or less of what is in the bank. And then a lot of people, they like, well, it's FDIC insured. So anything 250 or whatever, 200, 250 below, I'm at least good there. It's the same scam as fractional reserve banking, because they say, well, everybody's not going to want it at one time. So the money that's in the FDIC insurance is like less than 1% of what's actually insured. It's no different. It's the same fractional reserve scam that's going there. So Bitcoin's a commodity. We already know that's been settled. So it falls under the commodity money. And I watched you guys' video that you had sent me through email about explaining Bitcoin. And you guys are probably more on the school of thought that Bitcoin is a peer-to-peer cash. It's probably what you guys more so believe in. And that's something that a lot of people in the space have different theories on. I'm actually more in the store value camp, but it's because of the way money has changed. So it's all fiat money all over the world, you know, and gold and silver sometimes can back those things. So we're not really using commodity money, period, for daily day-to-day transactions. So knowing that Bitcoin can replace what gold has done for thousands of years so much better than what gold's purpose has been. And that's what a lot of people will start to understand, that it's that. It's what gold, and that's why I say it's one of the most significant inventions in thousands of years, because gold has been that for thousands of years. We just talked about the four types of money. Gold is what's worked better than anything, and now you have something that works better than gold for the same thing. But gold isn't used as money anymore. So basically, in its short lifespan, it did come out as a peer-to-peer cash. It was used for that in its early years. It graduated so fast that now it's backing the money. That's more of it, what its purpose would be, like gold, you know. So I don't feel that like it's a failure because it's not a P2P cash as much anymore. I think it's because it graduated so much that it's on a different level than just peer-to-peer cash.
So
I think it's both, and inherently that's what makes it so valuable. And like what you were saying earlier about, well, meme coins are just valuable because people say they're valuable. Anything is just valuable. Gold is just valuable because we agree that it's worth something. But inherently, like, what can you do with gold?
The people will say you can make it in jewelry and use it in manufacturing. If that was the case, copper would be
right.
Exactly. So it's not that. It's because we believe it.
It's because we agree that it's valuable. Now, what's changed, and I believe what makes Bitcoin such a seismic shift, is that over thousands of years, we've been able to look back into history and determine, okay, this is money. These things over thousands of years, people have used in money. Why did they choose those? Okay, and then from those decisions and the study of those decisions, we were able to develop a set of properties of what made them all the same. What are the properties of money? With that knowledge, plus the digital age and being able to digitize things and write a computer program, software, Satoshi Nakamoto was able to engineer a new type of digital money that was the best of every single one of those properties. You couldn't do that before software. Couldn't do it before software. Now it took the study of money plus what software enabled you to do, and a group or person named Satoshi Nakamoto to put it all together and digitize it And that's what Bitcoin is. First of its kind.
Yeah. Anything that shortcoming that you can point to with gold, Bitcoin doesn't have that.
Right.
So it's not that anything that, I mean, it is a unique digital property, but it's not that Bitcoin in itself is this inherently like, it's so technical, you just don't understand. It's not that. It's something that can serve this purpose.
Right.
That can serve this purpose that we haven't been able to, we've done. What gold has been the best.
Yeah.
But there's so many different, there's so many shortcomings on gold that if you point to Bitcoin, they fill those gaps.
Right. Gold's been the best. It's not perfect because we couldn't make it. We couldn't make it lighter. We couldn't make it so that you could fit more of it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But Bitcoin solved that.
And as far as a peer-to-peer thing, this is what I tell people sometimes too. If you had something for sale on Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, something like that, and somebody called you and was like, so I don't have any money, but I have some gold. You probably hear them out, assuming you thought the gold was real. That's another thing with Bitcoin. There's no fake Bitcoin, no such thing. So gold can still be used to transact back and forth. That's just not, it's not practical for its main purpose. And it's kind of the same with Bitcoin. It's not very practical for its main purpose for people to use on daily transactions. It's big for like settling global trade in Bitcoin. That's something that it can be very useful for. But for people to buy their groceries and coffee with and stuff like that, it's not the best for that.
See, I actually agree with you that right now, Bitcoin's primary use case is it's not even a question, is store value, for sure. But I see the hurdle from store of value to like a means of exchanging value. I see the hurdle not ease of spending it. I'm sorry, of accepting it, but ease of spending it. I think people just don't want to spend their Bitcoin.
That could be part of it. There's also, if you're following all the rules, then you have to like pay taxes on, and I think that should go away.
I wanted to ask you about that actually. So if now let's say I'm one of those guys that you were describing earlier. Hey, wait a second, I got some Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. You're telling me it's going to go down to 70. It's sitting here at 120. Why don't I dump it right now? Keep that cash, and when it goes down to 70, maybe even 80, I'll play it safe. I'll buy it all back. I'll have more, and then I'll just ride those cycles for a little while. If I were to do that, how would I be treated from a tax perspective? And has that changed recently?
No. If you hold it for, a year, 2 years, something like that, it falls under capital gains. If not, then it's just you
ordinary income.
Yeah, the profit, and you can deduct losses.
Okay, but if I were to, let's say, buy it at 80 in January, sell it at 120 in August, buy it back at 80 with more money now that I have in September, what am I reporting as the purchase and sale price at the end of the year? Like, can I take the price at the end of the year to capture all of those transactions?
If you sell it, and that's what a lot of people do, is called tax harvesting, and they do make these transactions at the end of the year. Like, you can sell it at the end of the year and capture it, and then you buy it just right back or whatever. Mm-hmm. My best friend in real life, and he lives in the area too. He's a CPA, owns 4 tax offices, and he's borderline whale. Like, he's got
Bitcoin well?
Yeah, he's got, I think, 60 something Bitcoin or something like that.
We should get him on the show.
I don't know if he'd do it. He doesn't really like to.
I'll take him to lunch
in public, but I'll see if he'll come. He's really smart. He's very smart.
We'll love that.
And he knows all the tax ins and outs and all that good stuff too.
Well, I think what we can see here is that Bitcoin is bigger than we will be able to fit into a single chat about sats. So we do ask each of our guests if they'd be willing to come back on in 9 months to give us an update on their Bitcoin baby. Would you be willing to do that for us?
Sure.
Because, by the way, 9 months from now, we'll be like, hey, yo, did we hit that 230 Q1 of next year? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Right? Or is my cousin Winchester right? And we're like, okay, it's $34,000 now.
Oh, boy.
So let's recap the conversation here with Ron. I think the overall themes for me is that staying humble and stacking sats is the best way for almost all of us to build wealth slowly over time. And you need to be a very specific type of person to do what Ron does and to do it successfully. I mean, we didn't even get to unpack the comment you made where it's almost like an addiction for you to trade. That's a crazy statement to make, right? And you're saying this is what I do, but I wouldn't recommend that you all do it. And most of these, if not all of them, are just ways for money to come in and flow back out to other people. But we did get to hear some interesting predictions, you might say, 230K maybe in 2026, but probably not going to go below 75K. I love that. That was kind of fun. Mm-hmm. We're not going to be, just for you Satillionaires, this ain't gonna be like that all the time, but it was fun for today. I thought it was interesting also to hear about commodity money, receipt money, fiat money, and then fractional reserve banking, because that, my little neural, whatever, was receipt money is different from fiat money because they're both slips of paper. Right. And also my self was scandalized to learn that the FDIC also doesn't have any money to actually pay you your $250,000 if things go south. Like, dude. So not only do the banks fractionally reserve away, it sounded like over 99% of their money, but then the backstop against all of those shenanigans is also, that's so infuriating. Like why is this okay?
If one bank were to fail, the FDIC insurance could probably cover that. But if it was multiple and stuff like that, then no. It's the same scam as fractional reserve banking, the exact same.
I mean, that makes me want to exit the banking system as much as humanly possible. And I think it was number 95, Senor Gringo Poppy talked about his bank account got down to $13 because he's just been getting it into Bitcoin over time where it's there. It's a commodity. It is there. Yeah. You know what I mean? Your Bitcoin is there. And Michelle, big shout out. He's our hummus guy. He said, your money in the bank is not yours. It's not money. It's not in the bank. So, Satillionaires, smash the subscribe button if you are excited to unpack all that with Ron the next time he's on. I'll turn it over to our friend Chris here.
Ithaca Hummus is our founding sponsor here at Sat Chats, and we've got the, looks like, classic variety to try here in studio, and it's been a while since we've had an in-studio guest.
Yeah,
could have been earlier today, but I obviously would just naturally forget about that and say it's been a while. So why don't you go ahead and grab a woven wheat? We'll do the same. We'll take a dip and then we'll all crunch into the mic at the same time. And I'll help Stuart here.
Yeah, this is my favorite flavor, Ron.
Yeah, I like Ithaca Hummus a lot.
Oh,
not just because you guys or whatever. I've been eating it for a long time.
Oh man, I appreciate that. Thank you. Where do you buy it here in Raleigh?
I'm not even sure. Just it's normally at Lowe's Food or just wherever.
Yeah. It's pretty readily available.
It's everywhere, dude.
Yeah, I don't have a problem finding it.
This is and by the way, I was at Costco on Sunday. Nice cold case at the back where they've got like the prepared meals and like moving into the dairy section. Nice cold case there. And the tubs were like, they were like fatty tubs.
Costco size, yeah.
Yeah. And they were right there, man. It was awesome to see. So it's everywhere.
Cheers.
Cheers.
We just launched this in Target.
It's always been like one of my favorite hummuses.
So good. So good. I agree.
Freaking delish.
Thank you. All right. So last part of the show here is where you get to choose between your choice of $50, which we have in, what do we call this? Fractional reserve banking format here, fiat format, or $50 in Bitcoin, which Stuart's going to calculate up here. It's 41,710 sats or $50. You can check, make sure it's. Oh! ya.
Yeet.
Why would you want fiat money when you can get Bitcoin? So.
Let's go. Come on, dude. High five. Let's go. William. All right, I love it. Now, what I would like to see too, since you are a trader, we'll give you a different kind of challenge. I would love to see if you could somehow turn this into more Bitcoin by the time you get back by, trading it, selling it, getting it into altcoin. Like if you could somehow track just this little tiny baby amount, it would be fun to see what you could come back with in 9 months.
Me getting the Bitcoin at 120K compared to somebody else who got it, months ago.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. I wouldn't advise anybody to try to be a trader, but if you're going to be in this market, it is good to understand how that works, because if you can just know the basics and not trying to do day moves and stuff like that, you can go the other direction. So when when things are falling, you can still make money to buy more sats. Mm-hmm. And that's one thing I say about altcoins is it's hard to find ones that are good or going to go up a lot. But when the bear market comes and Bitcoin tops out, they're all going to fall. So if you know how to short things, you don't have to be a genius. You don't have to be a genius. So
you just got to stay humble and not get greedy.
So the thing is with the 50, I can convert it and then, short it, even though there's not as much Bitcoin probably to go as high as what the other people may have got it. And I can make more money off it going the other direction.
It would be awesome if you could isolate these 41,000 sats and just show us how much you could turn that into in 9 months, and then come back with like what you did to do that.
It'd be like those YouTube videos, like the guy's like, I'm going to trade this empty aluminum can for a house.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he's like, obviously, he's like, will you give me a pin for this? Will you give me a pin?
Yeah.
That would be cool to watch that journey. Yeah. All right. So, do you want to send our Satillionaires anywhere to interact with you, where you're streaming?
Sure. If you're on Twitter, X, whatever it's called now, that's what my biggest following is. My channel is called Ron's Crypto Therapy. One of my mentors has a YouTube channel called John's Crypto Therapy. So I named my stuff after kind of honor him. My YouTube channel is the same. Also run like one of those paid telegrams. So if you're somebody new, you want to see like everything that I do, all the moves I make, and a whole bunch of crypto experts are in there, wallets, exchanges, pointing you in the right direction, all that stuff. Just shoot me a message on X or comment on something. And I have a link on my X page to a website where you don't even have to pay for it in crypto. You can pay for it with a credit card or whatever. For anybody's interested in that, I don't really push it too much, but it is very beneficial if you're new to the market, especially if you're thinking of getting in altcoins.
Nice. All right. So we'll put all that in the show notes for our Satillionaires. If you all want to help us mint the next brand new Bitcoiner, you can donate your sats to our show. Our Lightning and on-chain Bitcoin addresses are in the show notes, along with our website where you can sign up to come be on the show, just like Ron. You can also sign up to be in the standby line for our live game show on Fridays.
Wow.
Right. So if you're at Big Thunder Mountain and you want the fast pass to get right on the ride, then you come to the show Fridays, 11 a.m. Eastern on YouTube. And at the end of each show, we'll ask enough questions to refill our bank of 5 players. But if somebody drops out midweek, for example, we refill from this standby bench of people who are waiting. We've already had people signing up too. So you can try to get on the show quickly, or you can be guaranteed to come on the show later, right? Kind of like what we were talking about today, the two options. So you can play the game to try to make it happen quick, or you can lock into a lower, slower form and you're guaranteed. Remember to smash the subscribe button here if you enjoyed Ron's episode. When we reach 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, we will select one from among you at random and drop 2 million sats on your head. 1 million sats on the line every single Friday. Let's go. I mean, tell all your friends and family that we are here teaching you about Bitcoin and giving away sats. Right? I mean, it's what we do here.
Pretty simple.
So remember, Sat Chats is for educational purposes only and should not be construed as financial advice. Also, our guests' views are their own. We'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.